Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Mayorkas, you told Senator Graham that you've released somewhere between 500,000 and 700,000 illegal aliens. You told me you don't know how many of those had COVID. You told me further you don't know how many of those were sexually assaulted by the human traffickers who brought them in. When you were talking with Chairman Durbin, you talked about catch and release. And Chairman Durbin asked you whether illegal immigrants who are released under catch and release and given a court date in the future, whether they show up. And you responded, quote, "The great majority do, Mr. Chairman." Secretary Mayorkas, I believe that testimony is false. It is contrary to virtually every public reporting on the matter. For example, I'm looking at a July 27, 2021 story in Axios that describes just 13% of migrants had shown up after catch and release. You know you're under oath and subject to the penalty of perjury. Do you stand by your testimony to this committee that the great majority of illegal aliens released under catch and release show up voluntarily at court proceedings?
Can I give you the data that I have at my disposal,
Sure.
Senator? The percentage of non-citizens who have checked in, who have been compliant with the alternatives to detention, or are within their reporting time frame.
That's not the question. How many show up at the court hearing?
65%.
You're giving stats that aren't answering the question. How many show up at the court hearing? The stat that from Axios showed 13%. You're claiming 13% is the great majority.
Well, let me. I'm pulling from the data that I have, Senator, and I will verify the accuracy of the data after my testimony today and report back to you. Because
so if your testimony that the great majority show up for hearing is wrong and false testimony, you will correct it in writing. Let me ask you subsequently.
Let me.
You won't correct it in writing?
No, I most certainly will, but I need to say something, Senator. And that is that I take my oath.
Fine, you take your oath seriously. My time is limited on that. Let me ask you another question. It's been reported the Biden administration is considering paying illegal immigrants whose families were separated $450,000 apiece. That would mean for a family of four, they would get $1.8 million.
That's not my understanding.
What is your understanding?
My understanding, and it's drawn from news reports because this is not something that the Department of Homeland Security...
You're the defendant in the lawsuits.
Is that it is that amount of money per family, but I may be mistaken.
That is not what has been publicly reported. It is per person. Do you think it is a good idea to pay illegal immigrants 4.5 times what we pay the family of a service member who's killed in combat? And if we pay millions of dollars to illegal immigrants, in your professional judgment, will we get more illegal immigration or less illegal immigration?
Senator, let me say this, that I do not think a mother would travel to the United States in the hands of traffickers so that she can be separated from her 7-year-old daughter for a period of time, the duration of which she has...
Can you answer the question? Those were two yes and no questions.
I do not think that it would be a pull factor.
I said, is it a good idea to pay them the money, and would you get more illegal immigration or less illegal immigration if you give millions of dollars to illegal immigrants?
I cannot...
More or less?
I cannot speak to the advisability of settling the Federal Tort Claims Act in which I am not involved.
But you have no view on whether paying illegal
Senator
immigrants
Cruz.
millions of dollars creates more illegal immigration?
Thank you, Senator Cruz.
Well, can he answer the question?
You asked that question 2 or 3 times.
And he's refused to answer it 2 or 3
And your
times.
time has expired. You've gone longer than
So the
any other.
Secretary of DHS has no idea whether paying illegal immigrants millions of dollars produces more illegal immigration.
It has nothing to do with the substance of the question, but the fact...
Are you going to give him an opportunity to
Once
answer
again, you've gone longer than any other senator. Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Mayorkas, we have a couple of additional questions. I know in the first round of questioning, actually had a...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, on September 29th, the National School Board Association wrote to the White House calling parents domestic terrorists for being concerned about their kids' school. Within a few days, Attorney General Garland issued a directive to the Department of Justice and the FBI to crack down not just on violent, but what he called, quote, harassment and intimidation against school board administrators, board members, teachers, and staff. The School Board Association met with the White House and got tips from them on what to put in their letter before sending it. We've also recently learned from an internal memorandum that the School Board Association, quote, as disruptions at school board meetings grow, the association has been actively engaged with the Department of Homeland Security. Has anyone from the Department of Homeland Security met with anyone from the National School Board Association?
Senator, not that I'm familiar with, and I don't know why that would fall within our jurisdiction.
Did you see a copy of the Attorney General's memorandum before it was released?
I did not.
Okay, thank you. A few weeks ago, it was reported that the Department of Justice was in talks to give payments of up to $450,000 per person to illegal immigrants who were subject to enforcement of the zero tolerance policy during the last administration. Have you or anyone at the Department of Homeland Security been involved in those talks?
I have not, and I am not aware of anyone in the department who's been involved in the talks. That is something within the province of the Department of Justice.
So let me ask you this, and let me be explicit. I'm not talking about the lawsuits that are filed or the Department of Justice's litigation strategy or potential settlements. Who do you think is more deserving of cash payments from the United States government? Illegal migrants who cross our borders or the family of U.S. soldiers who are killed in action?
Senator, I think, if I may, you know how I'll answer that question. I think that the families of those who lost their lives wearing our nation's uniform are our greatest responsibility as a nation.
So do
you
you think it's
Senator,
shocking that illegal migrants could get up to 4.5 times what the family
Senator,
of a service member killed in action?
Senator, if I may, I'm a lawyer by profession, so I don't think it advisable to render opinions on facts, on cases, the facts and circumstances of which I am not familiar, because I know that the cases that are before the Department of Justice, to which you are referring, are Federal Tort Claims Act, where not all of those unlawfully present are filing suit against the government, but those parents whose children were taken from them as a means of deterring irregular migration, part of the zero tolerance policy of the prior administration, the family separation policy that received bipartisan condemnation and, quite frankly, the condemnation of the American public. What is an appropriate outcome of that litigation in response to the family separation policy, the cruel policy, is something I cannot opine on.
Well, since you called the policy cruel, let me ask you this. During the Biden administration, has the Department of Homeland Security ever separated a single illegal alien from someone they claim as their child?
Yes, but not as part of the zero tolerance policy, not as part of the family separation policy that was so cruel. Let me explain.
So, I understand that you're saying it's not part of the policy.
I'm sorry.
No.
If I may, Senator,
No,
I must
actually, no,
clarify.
you may not. It's my time. I'm sorry, my time is limited. So you've said that the Department of Homeland Security has done this during the Biden administration. You were the deputy secretary during the Obama administration. Did the Department of Homeland Security ever separate a single illegal alien from someone they claimed that was their child in the Obama administration?
Neither in the Biden administration nor in the Obama administration did we execute the zero tolerance policy that the Trump administration promulgated and cruelly enforced.
I'd say the policies you've been implementing are complete tolerance for illegal migrants crossing our border. Let's turn our attention there. How many illegal aliens crossed into the country, into the United States in 2020?
I don't have the,
I have the numbers from CBP in front of me. It's 458,000. How many illegal aliens have crossed into the United States in 2021, which I would note still has 6 weeks to go?
I believe the number taking out of that approximately 1.7 million, the number of recidivists, so in other words, unique individuals, approximately 1.3, 1.4 million.
Okay.
Would be my estimate.
So I have 1.7, but that's fine. So it's somewhere between 2.5 to 4 times as much.
No, because the 1.7 million figure to which you refer, Senator, includes recidivists.
Okay, so let's say it's 1.3, it's still 2.5 times. Are you satisfied that 2.5 times as many illegal migrants have crossed in this country this year as compared to last year?
No, I'm not, but worse is to promulgate and operationalize a policy that defies our values as a nation.
How about that defies our sovereignty as a nation?
Oh, our sovereignty is unflinching.
Oh, really? Because as it stands now at the border, anyone from anywhere in the world can simply show up and cross into this country.
I don't think that the hundreds of thousands of individuals who've been expelled under Title 42, the CDC's authority, would actually...
Well, the 1.7 million who've crossed here probably think so. Let me conclude with this. What should be a higher priority of the United States government, securing our border or giving amnesty to illegal aliens who are already here?
Senator, justice is our priority. That includes securing our border and providing relief to those who qualify for it under our laws.
So you refuse to prioritize whether we should try to protect our border from people crossing it who have zero right to be here, or giving amnesty to the millions of people that are in this country illegally?
Senator, I disagree wholeheartedly with the phrasing of your question. It is an inaccurate phrasing of our missions, our responsibilities, our challenges, and our actions.
How is it inaccurate? I mean, we have had 1.3 million by your own admission cross just this year. There are millions more in this country who are here illegally. I'm simply asking you, what is more important? What's a higher priority of the United States government, to protect our border or to give amnesty to those who are here illegally?
Senator, we do not have the authority nor the intention to give amnesty.
You testified that you wanted it, though, in your opening statement.
No,
A pathway to citizenship, legal status, whatever you want to call it, any kind of adjustment. What's more important, securing our border or giving some kind of adjustment to the legal status of those illegal aliens present in the country today?
Senator, I consider those to be both very significant priorities because they are inextricably intertwined. If, in fact, we can pass legislation that fixes once and for all our immigration system, we will have addressed in a material part the challenges at our border, and it will advance our efforts to secure it.
Well, they're intertwined chiefly because the open borders that you and Joe Biden have permitted have attracted even more illegal immigrants here. That means our borders are more open than it ever has been.
Thank you, Senator Cotton. Senator Lee,
Welcome, Secretary. On October the 28th, the Wall Street Journal reported that your department and several other federal agencies are involved in talks to offer massive financial payments to illegal immigrants. This is being done in order to settle litigation regarding the zero tolerance enforcement policy. As you can imagine, many Americans think it's a pretty outrageous idea to offer massive taxpayer-funded payments to illegal immigrants who broke our laws, particularly in the middle of a record-shattering border crisis that this administration has created. The Journal made it clear that DHS is involved in these discussions. As the leader of your department, presumably you've been kept in the loop. Were you aware of the payments amounts under consideration?
Ranking Member Grassley, the Department of Justice is leading the negotiations and litigation arising from the family separation policy of the prior administration. I am not involved in those negotiations. I must defer to the Department of Justice. My focus in leading the task force is to reunify the families who were separated under the prior administration.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, the White House, Deputy Press Secretary, and the ACLU have all already offered public comments on these settlement discussions, so we expect you to answer questions about DHS's involvement in the case. So you're saying that there's no involvement?
I am not aware of our involvement in the Federal Tort Claims Act that are being handled by the Department of Justice. My focus is on the reunification of the families, the parents who were separated from their children.
Under the Department of Defense Death Gratuity Program, the family of a service member who dies on active duty receives a tax-free payment of $100,000. Under what circumstances, if any, do you think it's appropriate for an illegal immigrant who broke our laws to receive more money from the government than the family of a fallen service member receives under that program?
Ranking Member Grassley, when an individual sacrifices his or her life in the service of our country, wearing our nation's uniform, the family and all loved ones make that sacrifice as well. And my heart goes out to the families of those whom we have lost. I must again defer to the Department of Justice with respect to the negotiation in litigation of federal tort claims. That is not within my province.
The Wall Street Journal piece, it indicates that at least one of your department's attorneys complained that the illegal immigrant payout under discussion would be more than some 9/11 victims' families received under that program. Under what circumstances, if any, do you think it's appropriate for an illegal immigrant who broke our laws to receive more money from the government than any one family in the 9/11 victims?
I had the heartbroken honor of meeting a number of families who lost loved ones as a result of 9/11 on the 20th anniversary of that tragic day. And we are devoted to the well-being of those families. Again, Ranking Member Grassley, the resolution, the negotiation of the Federal Tort Claims Act arising from family separation is not within the jurisdiction of the Department of Homeland Security.
Well, I'm not asking you to comment on ongoing negotiations or legal matters. I'm asking you for your opinion on when it's appropriate for an illegal immigrant to receive more money from the government than the family of 9/11 victims. I don't think you're going to answer that question, so I'm going to go on. There are approximately 1 2/10 million illegal immigrants in the United States with final orders of removal. These are people who have received due process and been ordered removed by an immigration judge. In your September 30th memo, you said, quote, that the fact that an individual is a removable non-citizen should not alone be the basis of an enforcement action against them, end of quote. Does that reasoning apply to the 1 2/10 million illegal immigrants who have received due process and been given a final order of removal by an immigration judge?
Ranking Member Grassley, the policy that I issued on September 30th, I drew from tremendous experience, not only as a member of the Department of Homeland Security, but as a federal prosecutor. We cannot remove 1.2 million individuals, nor can we remove more than 11 million undocumented individuals who are unlawfully present in the United States, who might not have final orders of
You might be right on that point, but my question is, does the reasoning apply to the 1 2/10 million illegal immigrants who have received due process? I just want to know if it applies to that group of people.
It certainly does, and however, I would not necessarily accept the fact that all of them have received due process.
Do you agree that all these individuals should be removed from the United States? I guess you said you couldn't remove 1 2/10 million. Should any of them be removed?
Of course, I do believe that individuals who pose a public safety threat, who pose a national security threat, who pose a border security threat should be removed. And we should be smart and effective in our use of resources, and we should focus on the well-being of our communities and prioritize individuals for removal, just as I did as an assistant United States attorney, just as any responsible prosecuting office does in this country.
I heard you say you want to do your job. Let me ask you this, the last question. Have any migrant families at all been separated during the Biden administration? Were any migrant families separated during the Obama administration, during which you served in multiple senior positions at DHS, including Deputy Secretary?
Ranking Member Grassley, no member of a family was separated consistent with the policy of the prior administration to purposefully separate a child from the parent for the sole purpose of deterring irregular migration of others. We ended that cruel policy on day one of this administration.
Thank you, Senator Grassley.
I wish I had an answer if any members were so deported.
Thank you, Senator Grassley. Senator Fine.